the STIHL Timbersports individual competition. In the first round, all athletes compete in 3 disciplines: the underhand chop, the stock saw, and the standing block chop. The times achieved will be converted into points upon completion of each discipline. In round 1, a difference of 1 point applies in each discipline, thus the fastest athlete receives 12 points and the slowest only 1 point. Any rule infraction will result in a disqualification and the athlete will receive 0 points for that discipline. At the end of the first round, the athletes with the lowest scores are eliminated. Only 8 athletes make it to the second round. In this second round, the remaining athletes compete in the single buck and the springboard for increased scores. With 2 points difference between placings, the fastest athlete now receives 16 points and the slowest receives 2. The 2 athletes with the lowest total points are eliminated at the end of round 2. Only the top 6 reach the third round. In the third round, anything is still possible in the hot saw, as an increased score interval of 3 points applies in this final round. The fastest athlete can score up to 18 points at the hot saw, the slowest only 3 points. The athlete who manages to achieve the highest total score across all 3 rounds is the new champion. Underhand chop. In the past, the underhand chop technique was used to split logs. Standing on a horizontally anchored block, the athletes cut through a 32-centimeter log. The block has to be worked from both sides. Hello and welcome to the Allianz Cloud in Milan, Italy for the STIHL Timbersports Individual World Championship. And here they are, the 12 best timber sports athletes in the world. We've never had such a young field of competitors as we have this year. Let's get straight to the sport and the first discipline, the underhand chop. In heat number 1, Danny Martin faces Koen Martens from Belgium. The local hero, Michel Perrin, will face reigning world champion Nate Hodges from the US. In heat number 5, we can look forward to a duel between 2 youngsters from Czechia and Poland. And in the last heat, the 2 top favorites will battle it out. Jack Jordan from New Zealand against Braden Meyer from Australia. All right, underhand chop, heat number 1, Danny Martin versus Koen Martens.
Ready, stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Good start by both of these gentlemen. We're looking for big things from Danny Martin, who's been training a lot in the offseason to make sure he is on pace for these competitions. And it is Danny Martin getting through there in a 20.22, Koen Martens 21.82.
Ja, der erste Heat, meine erste Disziplin, Underhand Chop, gut reingestartet, konnte es gewinnen. Gegen Koen Martens nicht ganz, was ich mir vorgenommen habe, aber es ist ein guter Start, kein Fehler. Ganz knapp am deutschen Rekord vorbei, passt.
Yeah, we did the underhand chop. I'm pretty happy with it. I get everything out of it I could this moment and I enjoyed it. The crowd is amazing, so I'm feeling good.
All right, next heat coming up, we have Pierre Puy-Barré up against Emil Hansson. You can see their records there as we get ready to go. And they are underway, getting into that block right away. Emil Hansson so quick with the pace. Pierre Puy-Barré, such power and such accuracy. Emil Hansson switching over to the other side of his block quite quickly. Puy-Barré right there with them. And Emil Hansson with a great time, 18:17. That is still an unofficial time until we go to the decision zone. And there you have it, 18:91 for Emil Hansson. Pierre Puy-Barré with a 22:56.
Le hit qui vient de se passer, pas trop mal. J'ai pas fait un super chrono, ça a pas trop été, mais dans l'ensemble, on va se rattraper sur la suite.
Om det där hit var jag ändå nöjd med. Jag har strulat lite med andra änden och nej, jag är nöjd att få en tid under 20, det är jag.
This is Michel Perrin.
An Italian rookie cup winner.
He's not really satisfied. And it looks like we might have a DQ.
There are competition. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe not good.
It's 3 years that I try to win it.
And he's become more and more accurate. And his strength has increased. Perrin looked like he struggled. Look at the power he's putting in there.
...2025, the dream come true.
And here we have it, the local hero, Michel Perrin, up against Nate Hodges, the reigning world champion. This will be a test of mettle for the Italian.
3, 2, 1, go!
And Nate Hodges into it very quickly. I think he might have caught Michel Perrin a little bit off guard there. And Nate Hodges with pace, switching over to the other side, and doesn't even stop his swing as he is really on point there with a 21:17 unofficial time, and Michel Perrin with a 23 and change.
Yeah, it was a good cut. Maybe I thought the wood was a little bit softer, so I drive too much wood. But yeah, this the first one. It went good, and I'm happy with that.
Oh yeah, it's the first event of the day. The wood was a little bit harder than I was expecting, but that's all right. It is what it is. You know, got that event done, off to the next one.
Underhand chop, heat number 4, Marcel Dupuis from Canada up against Redmer Knoll from the Netherlands. You can see both pretty close on their times as they get into their blocks quickly. Redmer's been on a tear in the last couple of years, really improving in his wood cutting abilities, and you can see here he's looking good, but Marcel Dupuis with an 18:14, unbelievable time. And Knoll, official time now coming up at 19:70, so both under 20. Good job.
The heat went well. The block, I cut it as well as I could. I didn't miss too many hits, so we'll see how it goes from here.
Yeah, the wood came out a bit firmer than I thought, but I cut it all right, so happy with the start.
Next heat, a couple of young guns coming up on stage. Matthias Klima against Simon Grunwald.
Athletes ready. Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
And on the blocks now, you're looking at the future of timber sports. 2 unbelievable young athletes. And look at the pace both of these guys are putting into those blocks, onto those second sides. This is going to be a close one between a couple of fantastic guys. And look at that, a personal best for Simon Grunwald with a 14.68 and Matthias Klima 18.06. And their times improving even more as they get the official times.
Udało mi się zrobić rekord życiowy. Starałem się to zrobić jak najlepiej. Dzisiaj było dobre drewno, dobrze posiekałem I wyszedł dobry czas.
Oh yeah, the Lazzy was pretty good. Pretty tough opponent, but I don't really care. It's me against Log. I was lucky I broke the handle, but it was the last hit, so it was lucky for me.
All right, the underhand chop, heat number 6, and this is a battle of monsters. Jack Jordan up against Braden Meyer, who holds the world record in this discipline, and undoubtedly one of his favorite disciplines. And you can see as he gets into it right away, Braden Meyer with the absolute pace that he sets every single time in this discipline. Quick to that second side. Jack Jordan not far behind him as he tries to keep up with the Australian, and it is a 12.97 for Meyer and a 14.72 for Jordan. 2 unbelievable times.
Yeah, it's great heat, good cut, you know. I pride myself on my end, so yeah, good start.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Couple of sticks, but yeah, can't afford to do that here. But not a bad cut, so hopefully it puts me in good stead going forward.
So this is how the rankings look after this first discipline. Not surprisingly, Braden Meyer is in first place in his favorite discipline, followed by Simon Grunwald from Poland in his first ever World Championship appearance. Jack Jordan is third, just ahead of Matthias Klima. Danny Martin is 8th, ahead of world champion Nate Hodges. Both got off to a weak start in this first discipline and need to really work to get into the mix. Okay, let's move on to our next discipline, the stock saw. Stock saw. After the starting shot, the contestants have to cut 2 wooden discs, so-called cookies, within a 10-centimeter mark. 1 downward and 1 upward. The attempt is only valid when both discs have been cut off completely and within the marks. Here we have the matchups for the stock saw in the first heat. We'll see Michel Perrin up against Marcel Dupuis from Canada. Danny Martin will face Nate Hodges. In the third heat, we'll see the two leaders, Simon Grunwald and Braden Meyer, up against each other. And the final heat will feature the local rivalry between Koen Martens and the world record holder Redmer Knoll. So there it is, the local hero, Michel Perrin against Marcel Dupuis. Both of them quite strong in this discipline. Definitely not a favorite for Marcel Dupuis, as he has stated in the past. But both of these guys get a good start. Looking for a clean first cut and a nice transition to the upcut. Oh, Marcel Dupuis got real close to that line. And a little bit of a cutout for Michel Perrin, so trouble on both sides here.
Both cuts are good.
Luckily, both cuts are good, and we have official times in the books.
Wasn't a good cut for me. When I changed from the down to up, I went a bit away from the log, so I have to redone my cookie. So that's my first World Championship. I don't have much experience so maybe a bit nervous.
Well, I'm not sure that's a real time. I might have been a bit slower than what I said at first there, because I think maybe they stopped the time a bit early, but I had two cuts, and that's all I can ask for. No disqualification, and I'm going to see how the rest of the competition goes now.
Next heat, Nate Hodges up against Danny Martin. Danny really confident with a motor saw in hand. This is one of his favorite disciplines and one he should do well at. He holds a national record for Germany. Nate Hodges also quite strong with the motor saw in hand, so let's see how he does with this MS661 stock saw. Oh, great start by Nate Hodges. He got in there quick as a wink. Check the transition now. Nate got onto that line pretty big time. He might have cut the line. In fact, Danny Martin's got a thin one, and that could be thin to win for Danny Martin. Let's see if it does, in fact, count.
Andy.
Oh, we have a yellow flag on the play. That means they are looking for a cut line on Nate Hodges' block.
Okay, after checking for a cut line, we've determined that both cuts are good.
Good to be lucky, lucky to be good. Nate Hodges is in.
Oh yeah, that's always the gut wrencher, because, you know, anybody can do it, but anybody can mess it up just as quick. So I'm happy to get it behind me, and I barely squeaked that one out. So yeah, happy to move on.
Ja, Stocksaw ist sehr, sehr tricky. Ja? Die zweite Scheibe war ein bisschen dünn gewesen, ansetzen auch nicht, aber konnte das Rennen gewinnen und ich denke, time to beat und ja.
So, Simon Grunwald, some new blood up against the 2019 world champion, Braden Meyer. Let's see how they do.
Go!
Braden Meyer quick to get that saw in position and starts his cut. He's a very deep starter, but he steps into it for that upcut. And look at how clean both these guys are on the upcut. Braden Meyer just a hair faster than Simon Grunwald there. And again, both these times unofficial till we hit the decision zone. Nicely done by the young man against a veteran.
Udało mi się uciąć dobrze, lecz wydaje mi się, że trochę był problem z drzewem, ale jest okej.
Yeah, just a consistent hot saw there for me. Staying with the points with that hot stock saw, and yeah, that's all I could really do.
Next heat coming up, Matthias Klima against Pierre Puy-Barré.
Stand to your timber.
Another one of the young guns battling for position on stage. Oh, and he gets a really quick start. Holy smokes, folks, that was fast by Matthias Klima getting into that block. Clearly, he likes this discipline. Puy-Barré, always strong, but Matthias Klima with a straight upcut, super clean run for Klima, and a very nice run for Puy-Barré.
Both cuts are good.
Yeah, it was pretty good cut. There's the maker or breaker, the stock saw, so I'm happy with that time. Probably placed somewhere high, so it's pretty good, yep.
Ben, la stock saw bien passé, j'ai essayé de prendre des risques. Après, voilà, ben, la coupe, ça a été pas trop mal.
All right, heat number 5, Emil Hansen against Jack Jordan. Now, we know Emil Hansen is very, very good with the stock saw in hand. His dad does a lot of training with him, and both these guys really quick into the wood. Jack Jordan looking so solid. Nice transition by both of them, man. This is a dead even heat, I would say. And those blocks drop really close together, 11.69 and 11.42. And you can see there time improvements in the official time zone.
Ja, men jag är nöjd med den här grenen. Det gick lite tungt att såga, men jag höll mig ganska cool och fick två skivor och en bra tid.
Yeah, pretty happy with that. Yeah, really happy.
All right, last heat in stock saw. Koen Martens up against Redmer Knoll. Redmer got the world record earlier on this season, to his own surprise, because he said clearly it's not his favorite discipline, but he'll take that one to the bank any day of the week. And they get started here with a really nice start on both sides. Koen Martens always super stable. Redmer Knoll, a bit of a swing on that transition, and Koen Martens looking very clean on his upcut. Redmer Knoll slower on the upcut than we've seen him before, and we have 2 times in the books, and always the high-flying, great attitude of Koen Martens. Love that guy.
Both cuts are good.
Stocksaw rankings have Jack Jordan with the best time of the day, closely followed by Braden Meyer, Koen Martens, and Emil Hansen, who are only 0.05 of a second apart. Danny Martin, usually strong here, is sitting in 5th place. And that means some changes in the overall ranking. Braden Meyer stays in 1st. Jack Jordan switches with Grunwald, while he, Klima, and Hansen are all tied for 3rd to 5th place with 16 points each. A surprise with Nate Hodges back in 9th place, who now needs to be flawless if he wants to stay in the competition. The last event in the first round coming up, the standing block chop. Who will make it to the next round? Just to remind you, only 8 of the 12 athletes will advance. Standing block chop. At the standing block chop, the felling of a tree with an axe is simulated. A vertically positioned wooden block with a diameter of 30 centimeters has to be cut through both sides. A powerful and precise swing with the axe is the premise of a good result. So here are the pairings for the standing block chop. Koen Martens will face Redmer Knoll as he did in the stock saw. Jack Jordan will have to deliver against Maciej Klima to keep up with Braden Meyer, who will finish the first round against the young Polish competitor Szymon Grunwald. That should be an interesting heat. All right, here we go with Koen Martens up against Redmer Knoll in the standing block chop. Both these guys holding national records respectively, and they are into it right away. Huge drivers into that block. Who will be the first onto that second side? It looks like it's going to be Redmer Knoll, but Koen Martens about 1 or 2 drivers behind Redmer, moving over to that second side. It might be close here as Redmer's coming in, and he's dropped it in to 16.50. Should be a new national record for him. And it is official, so he blocks his national record and kicks it out. And we move on to our next heat with Pierre Puy-Barré going up against Danny Martens. You know, these guys know each other real well. And here we go. Puy-Barré, one of the strongest standing block choppers in this arena. And Danny Martin looking very good here as he switches to the other side. 1 driver ahead of Puy-Barré. He's got his own fan club in the audience as well, does Puy-Barré. Puy-Barré looking good on the second side. Danny Martin looking like he might get close here. And oh, it's wiggling and waggling for both of them, but Danny Martin gets it first at 23-1. Puy-Barré in at 21-6-0.
Both cuts are good.
Après les 3 épreuves, fallait pas louper le standing, fallait faire un beau standing. J'ai essayé de donner tout ce que je pouvais. Ça n'a pas passé, donc voilà, dommage, on verra l'année prochaine si on peut ça fait ou pas.
Waren überall ein paar kleine Fehlerchen drin. Jetzt am Standing, die ersten Schläge war kleine Äste, direkt erschrocken und auch nicht das gehackt, was ich vorhatte. Ja, wir werden sehen, was es wert ist.
All right, Nate Hodges versus Michel Perrin. You know the crowd is going to be on Michel's side, but Nate Hodges, he has to be really, really perfect here. This is a discipline that he is also very strong in, and here we go. Both guys getting into it. Nate Hodges is a power packet. He is small, but very, very strong. Michel Perrin, he's tall, he's got long arms, and he can use that to his advantage. And look how clean those cuts are from Michel Perrin. Very, very nice. But Nate Hodges with a 16.32 unofficial, and Michel Perrin struggling on that second side, but does drop it in a 21.6.
Both cuts are good.
Well, I think just now that definitely out of the three disciplines, standing is my favorite and most comfortable. And I'm already warmed up at that point.
My best event is single back. I don't think today I will be in the single back, and that's just the first step. I have a lot to work on, and I'm glad to be in the first 12 of the world, so I'm very happy with that.
Emil Hansen and Marcel Dupuis up next. Marcel Dupuis, I mean, he's got a ton of power, a ton of experience, and Emil Hansen, he's no slouch. Let's be honest here. These guys can really go, and they get into it right away. The cameraman's got to be careful that he doesn't end up with chips of wood hitting his camera, as Marcel Dupuis is about 2 drivers behind Emil Hansen, switching to that second side. Emil Hansen really throwing everything he's got at that block, and it looks like he's going to drop it in 16.33, and that should be a national record as well. And it's official. Emil Hansen has a national record. Marcel Dupuis with a 17.24.
Jag skulle säga att det är standing som är min favoritdisciplin, så jag är riktigt nöjd med det hit jag gjorde här.
Yeah, it's just a matter of executing the day of the competition, and today I'm a bit iffy, but we'll see if we can make it through the next round and try to readjust that for the next round if we can make it there.
All right, standing block, heat number 5. Matthias Klima up against Jack Jordan. Jack Jordan is an absolute beast in this discipline. Matthias Klima usually finishes up for the Czech team, so he knows what he's got to do here as well. But boy, Jack Jordan onto that second side, quick as a wink. Matthias Klima's got a bit of work cut out for him if he wants to catch up with the time that's going to be very good for Jack Jordan. A personal best 15.10, and Matthias Klima with an 18.61. Nice cuts all around.
Cuts are good.
So next up we have heat number 6, Shimon Grunwald and Braden Meyer. I'm really looking forward to seeing this one go down, because we got a couple of guys here that, well, that could really surprise you. Braden Meyer switching over to that other side quick. Shimon Grunwald not letting him get away from him at all. Switches over, maybe a half stroke behind, but Braden Meyer, unbelievable time, 12.47. Grunwald with a fantastic 14 and change.
Czuję się bardzo dobrze. Zawody idą w miarę pomyślnie. Teraz ostatnią konkurencję trochę zepsułem, ale jedziemy dalej.
So in the results for standing block chop, Braden Meyer is on top with an oceanic record for the best performance of the season. Grunwald, Hansen, and Knoll ahead of Jordan and Nate Hodges. Hansen and Knoll also breaking their respective national records. In the overall rankings, Meyer remains in first place, followed by Jordan and Grunwald from Poland. We'll have to say goodbye to Perrin, Puy-Barré, Knoll, and Martin. They did not make it through to the next round. Single buck. The single buck is a one-man saw about 2 meters long. With this, the athletes have to cut off a complete disc of a 46-centimeter thick wooden block. The perfect interplay between rhythm and strength is the key to success. The second round begins with the single buck. These are the pairings for this discipline. Dupuis in heat number 1 against Koen Martens. Reigning world champion Nate Hodges against the youngster Matthias Klima. Emil Hansen takes on Shimon Grunwald. And in the final heat, it's a clash of the titans. Jack Jordan against Braden Meyer. Marcel Dupuis, undoubtedly one of the best single sawyers in Canada, if not the best in Canada, up against Koen Martens. And you can see the time difference between them is a couple 3 seconds. So we should see Marcel Dupuis doing well in this one. But you can never count out Koen Martens with that big grin on his face. He can usually come at you strong and surprise you sometimes. He is such a steady competitor. But Marcel Dupuis just making that thing look like butter. Koen Martens with a 16.74. Let's see what the official times are. 12.96, 16.46. Very nice.
Yeah, single buck. The wood surprised me a little bit there. There's a bit of an orange pitch in it, so it's a bit firmer than I expected, but I didn't hang up, so we'll see where that time gets me.
Next heat, Nate Hodges against Matthias Klima. And now that Nate Hodges is in this second round, he's got to be really on point with all his cuts. Here we go. You can see he's got a very flat style of cutting here as he also uses that saw at a quick pace. And Matthias Klima a little bit slower on pace, trying to use the entire length of that saw. But Nate Hodges really doing well there with a 13.28. Matthias Klima struggling on that draw a little bit with a 17.20. We've seen him go faster.
Both cuts are good.
Yeah, single buck is my least favorite, but I tried to work on it. It wasn't actually too bad, but yeah, well, still my least favorite.
All right, Emil Hansen against Shimon Grunwald. We know that Emil Hansen is excellent in this discipline. Let's see if the nerves hold steady for Shimon Grunwald, who's been cool as a cucumber thus far in the competition. Oh, really nice start from Emil Hansen. Look how he uses the entire length of that misery whip. And the pace from Shimon Grunwald, as well as the length of that saw being used entirely. And he is looking very good. Oh, a bit of a hookup near the end there, but a 13.25 to a 14.66.
Det gick lite knackigt, det gick lite tungt. Jag tappade fotfäste en gång med framfoten, men jag lyckades hålla sågen igång och fastna en gång, så jag är ändå nöjd.
Okay, last heat here, and it is Jack Jordan up against Braden Meyer.
Timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Jack Jordan, a very tall man, so he can utilize that to his advantage, but he also has some pace there as he is really working that saw quickly back and forth through there. Braden Meyer also looking very good. Boy, both of them getting down to the bottom of that one. We have an oceanic record for Jack Jordan, and it is under review. Let's see if this counts, because there's a little tab at the bottom of that cut.
For incomplete disc, we've determined that both cuts are good.
Breath of relief there for both of them. Personal best and a season's best in that heat. And now we look at Jack Jordan winning the single buck here with the best time of the year and the oceanic record, just ahead of Braden Meyer. Emil Hansen also shows his excellent form in the discipline, finishing in third place. So now the single buck changes the overall standings a little bit. Jack Jordan reduces the gap to Braden Meyer to 1 point. Emil Hansen moves just ahead of Shimon Grunwald, and Nate Hodges drops some important points.
Yeah, you might say European world champion at the World Championships, but
I guess they all could cause a bit of a surprise. They could all take points off you.
New competitors that it's their first time winning their national titles that are going to be gunning.
Some younger athletes, and I think there could be some upsets, and I'm not going to sit here and act like, I might not be the one to get upset.
Our goal's always to win.
I see my chances pretty high, I'm the best wood chopper in the world.
There's people that have already proven themselves as champions. Simon Grunwald, Emil Hansen are going to be tough competitors.
I can't slip up.
Yeah, nothing would surprise me on the night.
Take one discipline at a time and do that as good as I can. And it will be really fun to go up on the podium again.
Moim najważniejszym celem jest stanąć na najwyższym stopniu podium.
Springboard. Springboard simulates the traditional way of felling trees, climbing up over thick roots. First, notches known as pockets are chopped into the log. 2 springboards are then anchored into these pockets. The athlete then climbs up to chop through a 27-centimeter thick block of wood in the fastest time possible. So now we come to the springboard, the supreme discipline in timber sports, and the pairings are the same as they were for the single buck. Heat 1, Marcel Dupuis up against Koen Martens.
To your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So key here is to get a good pocket, and Marcel Dupuis gets a 4-hitter right there. That's absolutely perfect. A couple more hits to set that pocket for Koen Martens, and that first board is in place. But Marcel Dupuis quick to get up onto that top board and start working on that block. Now, he's got a pretty nice flat board, a little bit of sag there, so he's really using his shoulders for the cutting, but he's got the time in 50.50, and Koen Martens just passing the minute mark there as he is struggling to get through on that second side with a 1:08.98, and he gives us his usual celebration. And both cuts are good, so these guys have points in the bag. All right, heat number 2, we have Nate Hodges up against Matthias Klima. So Nate Hodges will definitely have the advantage here. Matthias Klima new to the discipline, but still doing quite excellent, having his personal best time in under a minute. So let's see how these pockets get set and these boards get put in place. Nate Hodges, that was about 6 hits, I believe. I didn't get a really accurate count on that one. Matthias Klima, a nice second pocket there. Let's see how that board sits in place. Well, he's looking very confident. Nate Hodges already on the top of his board. And look how far back on the board Matthias Klima is. That's fantastic. And Nate Hodges got that thing loose already, trying to find the line. Oh, that could be a problem, as a wrenching might cause him a disqualification. The judges will definitely look at that. If his time stands, it's 51 even. Matthias Klima with a 57.97. Yeah, that's in fact what the judges are looking at in the slow-mo there for a wrenching, and that could well be a DQ. Let's see what they say at the decision zone.
Okay, we're checking to see if there was a possible wrenching on this stand A, Nate Hodges. We determined that his axe got stuck, and both cuts are good.
So a sigh of relief for Nate Hodges, as that will not be a DQ, and that means those points will count for him with a pretty decent time, in fact. All right, next heat up, Emil Hansen up against Simon Grunwald. About 10 seconds separating these two guys and their personal bests. Let's see how this goes for Simon Grunwald here in his first ever World Championships. Oh, very nice pocket set by Emil Hansen. He gets up there quickly. Simon Grunwald right there with them. A little bit of an axe slip by Grunwald, and Hansen is on top working that first side. You can see in the background Grunwald right there with them. But Grunwald's got so much power, and he's got a national record with 45.04.
Both cuts are good.
So 2 national records, in fact. Emil Hansen gets one as well. What a way to work that pressure and just thrive on it for the young Pole, and Emil Hansen doing a great job as well.
Athletes ready.
All right, Jack Jordan up against Braden Meyer. A couple of titans here. Look how close their times are here in springboard, and here we go. Jack Jordan, board in place. Braden Meyer up on that second board now. Jack Jordan was already up there about 2-3 strokes ahead of Braden Meyer, but look at the pace Braden Meyer is putting in on that top block. Could he take down Jack Jordan in this one here? No. Jack Jordan with the season's best 39.31. Braden Meyer with a little bit slower 42.91. So the results of springboard, and Jack Jordan not only posted the best time of the day, but also the best time of the season. Braden Meyer had to settle for second place. Grunwald and Hansen were both in top form, setting national records respectively, and that also shifts the overall rankings. Jack Jordan moves just ahead of Braden Meyer, who becomes the hunter now rather than the hunted for the first time today. And at the end of the second round, we'll have to say goodbye to Koen Martens and Matthias Klima, unfortunately. Hot saw. For the hot saw, power saws are called into action, and the athletes have a space of 15 centimeters to cut 3 complete discs off a 46 centimeter thick wooden block. Jumping the start or cutting over the line will result in a disqualification. So now we move on to the hot saw. American Nate Hodges will start, followed by Marcel Dupuis, and then the youngsters Shimon Grunwald and Emil Hansen. Braden Meyer will be second to last in this discipline and will then go with Jack Jordan as the final athlete because he was in first place overall. We can't wait for this one to go, so Nate Hodges has to have a blistering speed if he wants to get anywhere close to the podium today.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, cut out there. He's got to reset, reposition, and recut. Oh, that is a heartbreaker right there as Nate Hodges with an 8-2-0.
Okay, after review to see if there was a cut line, we determined that the line was cut. Disqualification.
And a DQ as well. Heartbreak for Hodges.
Yeah, you know, one of my favorite events. Bummer to DQ it, but I was out of reach of the win. I figured I'd just try to go as fast as I could and see if I could even get close to my record. I doubt I would have been, but just trying to have a good time at that point and just go fast.
All right, next up we have Marcel Dupuis, and the Canadian has a national record of 5-4-3 in this discipline. If he gets close to that, he could move himself up the rankings for sure. Don't know if we're going to see him anywhere near a podium spot today. Let's see how he does. Ooh, a little tap there as he got into it. Those last 2 cookies were beautiful, though, and that last one shot away like a bullet. Wow, what a cut for Marcel Dupuis, a 6-1-7.
Your cut is good.
And that cut counts. It actually ends up being a 6-0-7.
Yeah, the hot saw went pretty well. I didn't run as quick as I wanted to, but that's the best course I could have today. And thank you very much for STIHL TIMBERSPORTS for having us to another World Championship. It was a great event, and hopefully we can make it again and try to improve on these times.
All right, next up, a big test for the young man from Poland, Szymon Grunwald. His personal best is a respectable 7:04. He's got a bit of work if he wants to get near that world title, but this is a great experience for him. Oh, a little bit of a pullback. That saw really fighting him. Did a good job to get a 7:20 there.
Your cut is good.
7:04 official time, and he stays consistent. Good job by Szymon Grunwald. Next up, we have Emil Hansen.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, a little bit of a draw in the start. Oh, the tip of his bar lost itself inside the wood, so he had to go back and cut 2 additional cookies.
Your cut is good.
The cut is good, but the time is not so great. 8.70 for Emil Hansen. That's disappointment right there. And Braden Meyer up next here.
3, 2, 1, go!
In 2019, he had a bit of a dismal cut, but he was so far ahead of the competition, it didn't matter. This time around, he's got a very nice cut, 6.70.
Your cut is good.
That means he will take over the hot seat as your new leader, and that is a personal best for Meyer. So one more athlete to go, and that is Jack Jordan.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Gets right into it. Nice transition to the upcut and a beautiful third cookie, and that is going to do it. A 6-3-0 for Jordan, and Braden Meyer knows it.
Your cut is good.
Thank you, really appreciate it. Yeah, can't believe it. Truly can't believe it. Really grateful for everyone that's helped me out along the way. Yeah, couldn't have done it without them.
Well, a truly deserving world champion, and in that last cut, you saw he came real close to the line, but he stayed within the markings, and he is your new world champion. As we take a look at the hot saw results here, Marcel Dupuis winning the discipline ahead of the new world champion Jack Jordan, Braden Meyer in third, and would have needed to win here to beat Jordan and get the gold. And that brings us to the final results. Jack Jordan from New Zealand is the new STIHL Timbersports individual world champion for 2025, with Braden Meyer taking silver, and Shimon Grunwald makes it onto the podium in his first world championship, finishing third. Emil Hansen, Marcel Dupuis, and Nate Hodges take 4th, 5th, and 6th places. And there it is, the bronze medal for Poland, Simon Grunwald, presented by STIHL board member Ingrid Jägering. What an incredible performance by the youngster today, and he'll have the big guns shaking in his boots for the coming season. The silver medal goes to Braden Meyer from Australia, but he doesn't seem particularly happy. He came to Milan hoping to become the world individual champion again following his win in 2019. However, this year he will have to leave the title to someone else. Jack Jordan from New Zealand, after winning silver last year, has taken another step up. The first world champion from New Zealand since Jason Wynyard.
2024 gold medal and world champion this year, Jack Jordan!
Oh yes, and you can take a deep breath now. It is time to relax.
Will be presented by Michael Traub, Chairman.
And there comes our fantastic trophy presented by Michael Traub, CEO of Andreas STIHL AG and Co. KG. And that is quite the beast. You got to be a strong man to heft that thing. And Jack Jordan is, in fact, a strong man. And he is your new world champion. A big congratulations out to him. And of course, you cannot have an awards ceremony without the champagne shower. It is a must. We bid you farewell from Milan with the highlight pictures of the day. Ciao everybody, and see you next time. We hope you enjoyed.